I stood on the porch with the gift bag in my hand, pink with silver stars, a ribbon curling at the top. I'd picked it out that morning, even though I knew deep down they wouldn't want me there. But I went anyway, because I'm her grandmother. Because I'm his mother. Before I could knock, the front door opened. Olivia stepped out and closed it firmly behind her. "Kalinda," she said, smiling too wide. "You weren't supposed to come by today. I just wanted to drop this off," I said, holding up the bag. "For Riley's birthday." She looked at the gift, then at me. "That's kind, but you weren't invited this year. The house is full. We've got Mike's parents staying over, and the kids' cousins from Charlotte are here too." Through the living room window, I saw beach chairs lined against the wall, 3 rolling suitcases near the door, and my granddaughter Riley, wearing oversized sunglasses and laughing as someone rubbed sunscreen on her arms. "I won't stay," I said softly. "Just wanted to give her this." Olivia didn't move to open the door. "Maybe next year, okay? We're just trying to keep things simple this time." I nodded once. Then I placed the bag on the porch bench and walked back to my car. That night, Brandon finally texted, "Sorry, Mom. Things got hectic. Hope you understand. Maybe next year." I stared at the screen. Maybe next year. As if I'd simply shown up early to something I wasn't invited to. As if it hadn't been 6 years of being left out. 6 years of beach trips I only saw through photos and posts. I didn't reply. I turned off the lamp by my chair and walked upstairs in the dark. In my hallway closet was a box of swimsuits my grandkids had once left at my house. They were too small now. I pulled them out anyway and dropped them into the donation bin by the door. They had outgrown me, but I hadn't yet outgrown what they did next. Every July, it was the same. My mailbox sat quiet, while Brandon's social media bloomed with snapshots. Olivia in a floppy sun hat, Riley holding a popsicle, the baby toddling through a tide pool. They always tagged the location. Some luxury rental. One year, a beachside villa in Hilton Head. Another, a glass house near Emerald Isle. Each summer more extravagant than the last. Never once a call. I used to leave my phone's volume on high in case they changed their minds, in case one of the kids asked for me. But after the 3rd year, I started turning it off by noon. The silence hurt less when you stopped expecting the ring. I remember the day they bought that first house. Brandon called me with excitement in his voice for the first time since college. "Mom," he said, "they approved us, but we need a co-signer for the mortgage." He'd just started at the firm. Olivia was still home with Riley. I didn't hesitate. I signed the forms, helped with the down payment, even brought over housewarming groceries so Olivia wouldn't have to cook that week. Now they tell people I'm not part of the summer plan. Too many kids. Not enough room. You know how it is. What I know is this birthday's come and go. Riley forgot mine last year. Or maybe she was told not to call. Either way, I bought myself a small cake from the grocery store. Lemon. Not my favorite, but it was all they had. I sat by the window with a plastic fork and watched the neighbors unload their own car. From a family trip, beach towels, folding chairs, a straw hat with someone else's initials. Inside my dinner was canned soup and crackers. I clipped a new stack of coupons after I rinsed the bowl. This isn't forever, I told myself. It's just a phase. But deep down, something else was starting to settle. Something heavier than loneliness. A kind of knowing. Because that summer, Riley posted a video of her birthday. Everyone cheered when Olivia brought out the cake. I watched it twice, then opened my laptop and typed beachfront property listings. The room buzzed with idle talk and clinking glasses. We were crammed around a folding table at a second cousin's birthday dinner paper plate sagging under potato salad and baked chicken. I smiled. I made small talk. I passed the rolls. That's when cousin Derek said it. "Brandon told us you're not really into the beach, Kalinda." He said you prefer to stay home, stay cool? I blinked. Is that right? He added, genuinely curious, like he'd just brought up the weather. My fingers curled beneath the tablecloth, hidden from view. Last year, I'd mailed Riley a seashell-covered journal from a small shop downtown. Wrote a note on the inside cover, "For your beach adventures. Love, Grandma." She never mentioned it. I took a sip of water and nodded, tight-lipped. Guess he misunderstood. Later that night, Riley found me by the bathroom, her sandals squeaking on the wood floor. "Grandma," she whispered. Like it was a secret. "Mom says we're not really beach people on your side of the family." I didn't correct her. I didn't hug her. I didn't even smile. I just looked at her and said, "Is that so?" She nodded, then ran off to join the others outside. When I got home, I didn't turn on the lights. I walked to the dining table, sat down, and opened my laptop. Not to scroll, not to feel left out again. I typed in the same phrase over and over, each time narrowing the radius. Beachfront property listings. Coastal inns. Distressed hotels. Renovation potential. I clicked through photos of peeling paint, cracked tile, empty pools, places most people dismissed. But I didn't. I saw something different in the bones of those buildings. Not escape. Not even revenge. I saw a beginning. And one listing caught my eye, tucked 2 hours south, a seaside inn with 12 rooms and a broken sign. The asking price was less than Brandon's mortgage. I bookmarked it. Then I opened a blank spreadsheet. The listing stayed open on my laptop for 3 days before I worked up the nerve to call. 12 rooms, ocean view, some storm damage, the listing said. Needs vision, the agent had added. I had vision. I had time. And after years of silence, I had savings. Turns out, living small while being left out adds up. The photos showed cracked tiles, water-stained curtains, a rusted sign half swinging on its post. But past the rot, I saw the curve of the shoreline, just beyond the deck. The sky was wide, and the air, you could almost hear it, smelled of salt and second chances. I drove there alone, didn't tell a soul. The shrubs were wild and swallowing the sidewalk. The pool was empty, full of leaves and old beer cans. But when I stepped through the creaky front doors, I saw the bones, thick beams, solid floors. A staircase that wanted to hold stories again. I stood on the top balcony looking out at the sea. The wind whipped my hair, and I felt something shift. Not in the world, just in me. Something unlocked. I went back the next morning and made an offer. All cash. Below asking, but firm. It was accepted within hours. My hand shook as I signed the final line, but I didn't hesitate. Not this time. I wired the down payment, then drove to a quiet coffee shop and opened a new document. Name Second Tide Resort. Not for them. Not to prove anything. Just because I needed something of my own. This time, I wouldn't be told there wasn't space for me. I wouldn't be asked to wait for someone else to leave room at the table. This was mine. By the time the paperwork finalized, I had a lockbox code, a new set of keys, and a renovation schedule scribbled on the back of a napkin. And when I walked back through those doors, it wasn't an inn anymore. It was a rewrite, a reclamation. And I had a lot of work to do. The paint hadn't fully dried in a few of the rooms, and the new patio furniture arrived 2 days late, but I opened anyway, quietly. No ribbon cutting, no flyers. Just a handwritten welcome board by the front door and a list of cabin numbers on the desk. I called it a soft opening, but really, it was more like a homecoming. I emailed the invitation list myself, neighbors who brought casseroles when Brandon had his tonsils out, a retired librarian who once gave Riley her first book, and 2 cousins I hadn't seen since my husband's funeral. They all said yes. The chef I hired reminded me of Henry, same calm way of moving in the kitchen, same habit of humming while slicing onions. I told him he didn't need to dress anything up too fancy. He smiled and said, Good food speaks for itself. By Saturday afternoon, every room was full. There were towels drying on balconies, bikes leaned against railings, kids running barefoot down the deck. Someone brought a guitar. Someone else lit citronella candles and told ghost stories around the fire pit. No schedule, no pressure. Just space. Real space. I walked the path to the beach with my coffee every morning. Same mug, same step. The ocean never asked if there was room for me. It just made space. On the third night, one of the cousins leaned over during dinner and asked, "So, is Brandon coming later this week?" I wiped my hands and took a sip of water. "No," I said steady. I figured his house was still full. There was a pause, then a small laugh. Not cruel, just knowing. That night, I sat outside long after the others went in. The wind had cooled, but I stayed. Watched the lights flicker across the water. No part of me wanted to check my phone. I didn't wonder if he was thinking of me, because for the first time in a long while, I wasn't shrinking to fit someone else's version of family. I was building my own. And the reservation list was growing. The call came just after breakfast. I was sitting on the deck mug in hand, watching the tide stretch itself across the sand like it had all the time in the world. My phone buzzed on the table. Brandon. I stared at the name for a second, then answered. "Hi, sweetheart." He didn't waste time. "Hey, Mom. Listen, crazy thing, our Airbnb fell through. They double booked us or something. We're scrambling. Is there any chance? Could we maybe crash at your place for a few nights? I didn't move." The breeze shifted, carrying the scent of bacon from the kitchen below. "My place," I repeated. "You know, your place." "The resort." "We saw the photos Aunt Lainey posted. It looks amazing, seriously. Like, wow. We didn't even know you." He stopped, then added, "You didn't tell us you bought a whole resort." I took a breath, slow and even. "You never asked." He was quiet. Then came that familiar tone flat on the surface, but I knew what sat beneath it. Surprise, discomfort. A touch of guilt, but never regret. "I just figured maybe you'd have a room or two open." He said softer now. "The resort's booked solid," I said. Not unkind. Just fact. "Oh. A beat. Okay, no worries. Just thought I'd ask. You should try the Seagrass Inn down the road. They're smaller but clean." "Right. Yeah. We'll figure something out." He hesitated again, then mumbled, "Congrats, by the way. On all of this. It's impressive." "Thank you," I said. We both knew that conversation would have sounded different a year ago before his wife started saying, I didn't fit the vibe before I stopped waiting for space at a table that never had a chair for me. "I'll let you go," he added quickly. "Sounds like you're busy." I looked out across the deck, families laughing, kids passing beach balls, someone setting up a board game under the pergola. "I am," I said, and ended the call. Then I picked up my clipboard and walked inside to check the dinner reservations. By the second weekend in July, the calls started coming in on their own. Not from Brandon, not from his wife. From everyone else. Cousins I hadn't spoken to in years. A great-aunt from Florida. My second cousin, Risa, who used to braid her hair with sunflower barrettes and once cried when I left her birthday party early. "This place," she said as we sat on the veranda one evening, "feels like the heart of something." Word spread faster than I expected, maybe because family knows how to carry things forward when it finally feels like someone opened the door. Uncle Pete brought his new girlfriend and 2 grandsons. He stood in the dining room after dinner, looking out at the fire pit where kids roasted marshmallows, and said, "Funny. I always wondered why you weren't invited all those years." I didn't reply. Just handed him a plate of cobbler and smiled. One niece arrived with twin toddlers, and no husband, just exhaustion, and a backpack full of snacks. She stayed in room 4 and cried when she saw the view. "This is what family feels like," she said the next morning, barefoot coffee in hand. I nodded. I didn't need to say it. They were remembering who I was, who I'd always been. Later that week, I was restocking beach towels in the office when I opened a drawer and found an old photo curled at the edges, a little sun-bleached. Brandon was 8. We were standing on a beach somewhere near Charleston, holding hands, his arms slung around my waist like he never wanted to let go. I remembered the exact moment Henry took the picture. The wind had just lifted Brandon's hair. He'd looked up at me like I was the whole world. I held the photo for a long time. Then I found a frame. Not one of the fancy ones from the guest rooms. Just something simple. I didn't hang it in the lobby. I set it on the shelf in the back office next to my ledger and a bowl of peppermint candies. That's where it belonged now. It started with a post. I didn't see it right away. One of the younger cousins sent me a screenshot. Olivia had taken to Facebook with a blurry beach photo and a caption that read, "Some people would rather punish family than forgive them, but bitterness doesn't build anything." I stared at it for a moment, then closed the image. It wasn't surprising. Guilt has a way of dressing itself up as wisdom. The comments were split. A few vague heart emojis. One or two awkward, "So sorry you're going through this" types. But then came Aunt Margie. Funny how the table turns when the seat's already taken. Aunt Margie, who once offered to babysit Brandon during my night shifts and never forgot a birthday. She had stayed in room 7 with her husband over the 4th of July weekend. Ate every meal with us. Watched me as toddler learn to swim in the pool and cried during sunset. Olivia deleted the post within the hour. No follow-up, no apology. Just silence. That kind of silence used to hurt. Now it just made space. I didn't respond. I didn't send a message or post a rebuttal or reach out to explain myself. I was too busy. The contractor was due at noon, and I was knee-deep in plans for the second property. This one was tucked up in the mountain stone walls, winding paths, a long porch that overlooked the trees. It was run down, but beautiful in the right light. Just like the resort had been once. Robert, the consultant I'd hired, was already waiting in the lounge with blueprints in hand. We were walking through the design for the new wellness center when he glanced up and said, "You sure you want to do this again?" I smiled. "I'm not doing it again," I said. "I'm doing it better." We talked through the next steps, permits, suppliers, staff. By the end of the meeting, we had a schedule. We had a plan. And I had something I hadn't had in years. Momentum. The call came the week before Thanksgiving. Brandon's name lit up my screen just after sunset, while I was walking the property line with a clipboard and a flashlight. The winter chill had started to slip into the air, but the sand still held warmth from the day. I let it ring twice before I answered. "Hey, Mom," he said, too casual. "I was wondering, any chance we could come by for Thanksgiving? Just us. Me, Olivia, the kids." Low key. I stopped walking. Let the breeze fill the silence for a second. "I don't know, Brandon," I said. "Will you be bringing folding chairs?" There was a pause. "Would I only have 8 seats at the main table? And if your family comes, that fills all of them. So unless you're planning to sit in the kitchen like we used to," he gave a short, nervous laugh. "Seriously, Mom. So am I." The silence returned longer this time. He didn't argue. He didn't yell. Just said, "All right. Got it." He hung up first. I stood on the edge of the deck, watching the tide move in slow, determined patterns. By Thursday, the resort was full. Uncle Pete carved the turkey, while Aunt Margie ladled gravy and made jokes about the extra stuffing for extra people. My niece set the kids' table with crayons and paper placemats. The Martinez family brought sweet potato casserole. We lined the beach with lanterns and set up marshmallow stations near the fire pit. No one asked where Brandon was. They were too busy laughing, too busy clinking glasses and passing rolls and chasing toddlers with cranberry-stained fingers. After dessert, I slipped away and sat on the porch steps with my coffee. The sky was streaked in burnt orange and fading purple. From the distance, you couldn't hear the waves. Just the sound of people, my people talking and sharing and staying. I didn't miss anything, because nothing was missing. Christmas morning, I woke before the sun. The resort was quiet, still wrapped in sleep and cinnamon. I slipped on my coat and walked the shoreline barefoot, letting the cold sand sting a little, just enough to feel alive. No gifts under a tree, no forced smiles over dry ham, just the tide rolling in like it always does. Steady, unapologetic. I wasn't lonely. I was full. Back in the office, the morning light touched the new photo on my shelf. I'd snapped it from the porch during our last big weekend. I sat down and opened my journal. I didn't lose my family. I wrote slowly. I stopped begging them to see me. The words didn't sting. They landed clean, clear. A knock pulled me gently from the page. 2 guests were at the front desk, early check-in. Young couple honeymooners, maybe. They looked nervous, excited. She held a bouquet of white tulips. He carried too many bags for one weekend. I welcomed them with a smile. "You're in room 7, I said, handing over the key card. "Ocean view. It's a good one." They beamed like they'd been handed the world. After they walked off, I stood there for a moment, breathing in the scent of coffee and ocean and quiet joy. Not the kind of joy you force at a dinner table. The kind that grows from knowing you've built something no one can take from you. I didn't need an invitation anymore. I had created the space, chosen who sat at my table. And this year, I didn't shrink to make others comfortable. This year, I stood tall, not in spite of the waves, but because I'd learned to walk through them.